let's start. Let's start with the ultimate question, right? So the election, it was clearly a rejection of UMNO and Barisan Nasional, right? They were the biggest losers in that election. And right after that, they became the kingmakers. And Datuk Sri Zahid Hamidi, he became the Deputy Prime Minister. How is that? My first question to the three of you is, how is that not a betrayal of the people's trust?
It has been elaborated better by Professor Clive Kessler. And I would lean on also to Professor Anthony Milner, who in 2013 shared with me that, I guess born out of his thesis, Kerajaan, that the ultimate power in Malaysia are the sultans, the royal families. They are the ultimate power. I have, in my conception of them, which I'm working on, they are the key veto players. There are other veto players, but they sit at the apex of power in Malaysia. Now, so when we look at it this way, you're absolutely right that the people have been betrayed, but they have been betrayed in many different ways. The electoral system itself is a betrayal of the whole notion that one person has one vote. That systematically Malaysians, by and large, or a large number of Malaysians have been betrayed over the years. But this takes it to a new height. And it proves in many ways, and what Professor Clive Kessler said, that the monarchs, seeing perhaps their interests being challenged in a very existential way, namely that PAS can now say that the people are with us and not with you, the defenders of the faith. The royal families quickly came together and they had some legitimacy. PH was still the biggest coalition in a plurality, and then how Perikatan Nasional so rudely in Malay culture, so rudely democratically right, but very rudely dismissed the idea by none other than the Agong himself. I guess played into the hands of Pakatan Harapan and Barisan Nasional. So betrayal at one level, but intrinsically it just fit how decisions are made in Malaysia.
I just think that's all terribly neat and tidy and not reflecting the reality of the messiness of what has been about 20 plus years. And I think you give a bit too much credit to the likes of, Anthony Milner's, I think, somewhat hokey old theory about the despondency, despair, and perhaps the drive of, this feudal order that Malaysians themselves, I think, are quite adept and understand that they can only rely on themselves to some extent. I know there's a bit of a paradox because at the same time, people say, Malaysians expect a lot from their government and therefore they feel, let down or whatever. But I think people underestimate Malaysians and their resilience. And I think they also underestimate the Malaysian electorate's now in voting for what they've got now. And to some extent, I think the evidence is increasingly showing that there has been a compounding of that protest vote against UMNO, against what has been resoundingly, 2 elections in a row now, a vote against corruption and a lack of integrity. There is clearly a demand or a desire for better integrity in politics. The question is, how do you get there? Who articulates it the best? And elections are one snapshot in time, I think. but they
To go back to Walid's original question, certainly there are several layers of betrayal, depending on who you talk to. First of all, especially in the Chinese community, let's just start with the Chinese community, right? Or say non-Malay Muslim community. There is a sort of celebration that, yes, once again, we rejected BN, we rejected Muhyiddin's, Malay Muslim crowd, and especially PAS. Actually, the biggest enemy at the time for a lot of non-Malay Muslims was PAS. It wasn't Muhyiddin, it wasn't UMNO. I mean, if you remember the things that come up from DAP was we're willing to work with anyone. And of course, BN, UMNO, especially UMNO, rejected outright. No, we're not going to work with you regardless, right? But yet, you see Anwar sort of, and not just Anwar, but DAP putting that olive branch out in case. I feel that they knew something was going on. I mean, probably I'm wrong, I'm not, but I'm talking about grassroots reactions, right? When Pakatan failed to capture the kind of, majority they enjoyed back in 2018, there was a fear. There was a fear. And then Muhyiddin's pre-M announcement, oh, we got everybody on our side, we're going to form a government. There was panic. To be honest, there was mass panic. People were making memes, bad jokes, or whatever I would call it. I mean, they were fearing that, oh God, we're going to become an Islamic nation, regardless. Everybody was, all the conspiracy theories were coming out of the woodwork, right? And then we see that the horse trading, as I call it. But on the other hand, as Greg has pointed out, and also I think Kian also pointed out, it is a rejection of BN, right? For what it is, the first thing is, like you said, or you guys said, is the rejection of the robbers. They want the Penyamun out of power. But yet, when the numbers came about, number of parliament seats, right? Nobody had majority, and that was when the panic starts to set in. Right? Everybody start making announcements, and then they'll counter announcements and this and that. It got to a point where, for the grassroots, especially the non-Malay Muslim community, it's like anything but pass. It's fine. Anything but pass. So when talks come about where, a picture showed up where the Pacific Hotel, or I forgot what, Sri Pacific Hotel, where they had this meeting, shaking hands and all that, right? It went viral. Everybody said, oh, good, we're going to have the mood is like, oh, we're going to have a government that's non-pass. That was all in people's mind, right? It's not about rejection of, I mean, everybody knows Zahid. They did dislike Zahid. I mean, to be honest, especially the Chinese community had a very, very intense dislike of anything UMNO, especially Zahid, right? V. Kasiam Gong number 2, okay, but different story. But so when that talk came about, people were started to talk, to say, okay, there's a chance to capture Putrajaya without past participation. To be honest, there are a significant members of the non-Malay Muslim community saying Muhyiddin is not bad, but it's just too bad he's with PAS, so we have to reject him. So that's right. So when the government was formed between Pakatan with UMNO and then plus the Borneo bloc, the people don't see that. I mean, especially for the non-Malay Muslim community, it's not a betrayal. Like what you said was, it's a necessary evil, and the people were okay with that. There was no mass protest, or at least there was no.
So basically, what you're saying is the non-Malay community would have been okay with any form of government, any way it was formed, as long as it didn't include PAS.
Which is why when Sabah and Sarawak jumped over and formed the government, they was cheering. People were happy. It was better than World Cup, to be honest.